She's dead, wrapped in plastic. Damn good coffee, and hot. Black as midnight on a moonless night.
Do your palms ever itch? One day, my log will have something to say about this.
It is happening again. It is happening again.
So, welcome to this episode of the Twin Peaks Log with your host, Mark and Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hello.
Right, episode 3. We're so excited to talk about this one. How about you?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still digesting, so.
You're still digesting, right? Okay. Before we get started, though, I'd like to do a little bit of feedback. Now, I'm on a few good old-fashioned forums, you know, before Facebook and all that. I've been on a certain forum for over 10 years now, and there's a Twin Peaks thread on that forum, which I actually started, you know, a number of years ago. And I got a little feedback from one of the main contributors on it. It was Dominic. He enjoyed our first episode concerning... I believe, well, it doesn't actually clarify. I believe he is talking about season 3, but he just said, I've just listened to the first episode podcast. That's what he says. It does sound like it. Anyway, here's his feedback. I was listening to your first episode podcast. It's pretty good. Although if there's one note I'd make, maybe a little less recap and more analysis. Hearing your interpretation of what's going on is the most interesting to me. Like your co-host too, especially the way she pronounces budget. Budget. Go on, say budget. Go on.
Budget.
Oh, budget. And then he says, speaking of accents, holy shit, yours is awesome. Well, I think that he put 4 stars, but I'm going to assume it's that. Yours is awesome. I mean, I knew you were English, but not that English. It's like I'm listening to the cast of Snatch to a podcast, lol. What's the proper term for your accent? And what about your co-host? She sounds a tad more proper than you, if you know what I mean. Oh, Becky, you're proper.
Oh, shut up.
Good job. I'll be listening more as I play poker this weekend. Well, thank you, Tom. Well, I've already answered that in the forum to him. I'm from South London, which Cockney's near enough, but technically Cockney's East London, but that's near enough, really. In fact, funnily enough, if you watch EastEnders, they all talk like South London. Yeah. They don't sound like EastEnders to me. I mean, but, you know, for people outside London, they probably all sound exactly the same, I'd say. And you're Manchester.
Yes, I'm a Manc for my sins. And Manc. I've never heard the Manc accent described as proper, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, compared to me, probably, right?
Yeah, compared to you.
Yeah, compared to me, yeah. Okay, so thanks for that. Let's just delve into part 3 now, because I've been so looking forward to this. Okay, so this one, now when we watched, well, certainly when I watched the first 2, I watched them as one long one, but split it into 2 parts, because you could kind of tell where the advert was, you know, sorry, the break was. But there are some places you get them in 2 parts, so I never saw like the introduction of the main series, only the one that was used in the part 1, right? But this one starts with what appears to be going to be the ongoing series opener, which is, it's like a shot of, you kind of see clouds, but you kind of see a very faint see-through picture of Laura, don't you? Laura Palmer.
Yeah.
With sunshine kind of coming through it, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I noticed the sunshine kind of forms a hole on one side of her head as it zooms in. That's probably reading way too much into it. And then it kind of breaks through that image, and you're drifting towards like treetops and fog, and we're getting the Twin Peaks music, the classic Twin Peaks music. We get some really nice shots of like Twin Peaks Falls from above. They're really nice. And then we get the swishing, the really plush swishing red curtains kind of going backwards and forwards, right? Like waving really, really fast. And then like a tracking shot across the zigzag floor of the Red Room. So that seems to be the one. I've watched episode 4, as have you, right, I believe. So that one also starts with this. So I think this is what the credits are going to be. What do you think? Any thoughts?
Not really. Much more than
right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the kind of Red Room and the way that Laura disappeared last time made me think we were kind of going to go into that scene, but we didn't.
Yeah, it did appear we were going to go into. We were leading into the Red Room, but then it just cut, right? Well, this opens with really something, right? There's a whole sequence here. I'd say 10, 15 minutes of complete madness, right? Weirdness, right? What did you think of this Gene? We'll go through it bit by bit in a bit, but what do you think of it generally?
Well, I mean, we really get down to the kind of the heart of Twin Peaks, don't we? Yeah, this is pretty. I mean, I read just reading up reviews about it, trying to kind of fathom what was going on, and I came across the term mindfuckery, which
Yep.
I was like, yeah, that's kind of right. I mean, for me, I really enjoyed this sequence with Cooper and that kind of other world he enters, this abyss with all the kind of the water and the purple mist and such.
Yeah, it's like this is like his route from the Red Room back to Earth, kinda, right? That's what's.
It's like he's on the edge of this other world, this other kind of dimensional plane. It seemed.
Yeah, it was like. I mean, was it either the arm or Mike shouted non-existence before he kind of fell through, right? So there was. This is a transition. Now, to me, I know Lynch doesn't feel like his mind doesn't work this way. I think you can never tell with David Lynch, but to me, it was like. Right, you guys that watched Twin Peaks and thought it was weird and then got inspired to make your own weird shows. Sit down, I'm rolling up my sleeves, I'm going to show you what weird means. Because I've never seen anything like this on TV. Not a bit. Certainly the sort of effects he was using where kind of time kept going backwards and forwards mid-scene when that the no-eyed woman was trying to communicate with him. It was really something, wasn't it?
It was, and the way they moved and the way it was filmed very much reminded me, I said before, of how much this new series reminded me of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Particularly with the kind of tree.
Yeah.
But I think the way that they kind of move and time moves and, you know, the actual tones and colours really did remind me of the kind of cutscenes from video gaming.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. Actually, yeah, the color palette was very odd, wasn't it? It was like it was toned right. Oh, basically the color was almost drained out of it. Some of this, I mean, the woman's dress was still fairly vivid, but it was very odd. It made me think of Eraserhead. I thought this was channeling Eraserhead quite strongly again. And this one made me think. Right, I was thinking. Right, I'm thinking someone that likes Twin Peaks but not necessarily a fan of David Lynch's other works would have real trouble with this, but fans of David Lynch wouldn't. That was I mean, that's a bit pompous perhaps, but that was how I was feeling about it. I mean, of course, that's a big generalisation, but it just felt like we weren't in Twin Peaks in terms of just the TV show. We were hedging Fire Walk with Me for sure, but it actually was referring to some of the other works of David Lynch, you know, or sort of riffing on some of the other works of David Lynch, for me, anyway.
I think so, and I think that, I've spoken before about how from the television series Twin Peaks to Fire Walk with Me, how it's evolved so much and Lynch never kind of treads old ground kind of thing. He always moves on and creates something very new, even though it links back. He's always expanding that universe, I've also said, with the various kind of book tie-ins and such. But I think that his films are very much part of that universe, and they are, you can read and infer and link between all of them as much or as little as you want, and that's what I love about his filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, this scene, particularly with the bits I remember from Eraserhead, with like a kind of godly entity in some kind of factory.
Yeah, there was like a scarred man with levers, wasn't there? There's that. Was that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, and that's. This seemed to me very much, like I said, you said about the kind of non-existence aspect, but it's as if this is one of the kind of back doors, perhaps, or whatever, to between worlds.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. at some point we're going to be talking about the Secret History too, and I have to say that some bits in some of these episodes actually do reminded me quite a bit of some of the stuff that comes up in the Secret History. I'm not going to try and avoid talking about that till we get to the book, but I will refer back to these episodes we've watched once we get to the Secret History, I think. So that kind of comes into it too. But anyway, we see Cooper falling through basically eternity, kind of, don't we? Is how it starts. And then he kind of lands in almost comic way. It was almost like a silent film comedy, landing on some sort of weird balcony that could have been metallic or could have been stuck. It was something hard, and it looked like sheet metal almost, didn't it, the balcony? And we see him land and disappear off screen behind this balcony, and then kind of stand up and look, and there's this, the idea is it's kind of an endless ocean, isn't it, of purpley water going off, and it's kind of dark, and there's also a purple sky, very purple, violet purple colours here. Basically, you only saw black and purple in that shot, right? It looks like an endless ocean, which kind of reminded me of Dune. All right, but that's a bit of a fatuous link. There's a shots in Dune of like an endless ocean when they're talking about the Atreides' home planet, the original home planet. So anyway, looks over Cooper looks over the balcony, stands up, looks over the balcony, and there's like a doorway. But when he goes in there, there's like a woman. Her eyes are kind of not there. It's very Silent Hill, like you said, right? I wasn't sure if they were like stitched up or that there was something over where her eyes were. It looks a bit like that, right?
Yeah, it was hard to tell because of the way it was filmed and the kind of it looked quite kind of grainy. Yeah,
and it had been treated heavily, and there was a very juddery feeling, like every few frames, the frames would reverse and then go forward again. It was almost like time was flying backwards and forwards. That's the kind of feeling, right?
Yeah.
Which, is interesting given the Red Room. The talking is kind of reversed, they're talking forwards, but the way they talk sounds like, it's someone talking and then they're reversing it, right? And Cooper's kind of juddering too, and there's it's very, very interesting scene. Not seen anything like that on TV. It's very experimental filmmaking. This could almost be a mini movie. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
When Cooper speaks, though, he speaks normally, doesn't he? He says, "Where is this? Where are we?" And she appears to be trying to say something, but the juddering time kind of interferes with whatever she's trying to say. I'm not sure she actually articulates any kind of words. She's kind of gesturing, right?
Yeah, it's quite guttural.
Yeah.
And because of the way that it kind of flicks around, he keeps Cooper looking. I think a lamp keeps turning on in one corner of the room.
Yeah.
And there is something, it looks like a tiny kind of door.
I couldn't work out what it... Oh, sorry, you're talking about like the radio thing or something else?
Which had the number 15 on.
It had the number 15. There was also a banging, like someone was trying to get in, and a weird silver shapes in this dark, almost like corridor, but I couldn't make out what it was. They were kind of moving around and it's hard to tell.
Nope, and that's the thing, like I say, each shot was held for such a kind of brief amount of time. You were constantly, as it kind of flickered, back and forth, trying to work out what it was.
Yeah.
And I couldn't for the life of me.
I couldn't. Now, he sees this like terminal that's like a radio that says 15, and she kind of is trying to gesture him not to go towards it, almost doing like, a slash across the throat kind of gesture.
And I thought she did actually cut her throat because of the noise and the way she was, because it was so dark and quite red. I thought, has she actually, slit her own throat at one point?
I didn't see that myself. And I have to tell you, I watched this 3 times. I'm loving this series.
Wow.
I really am. I really am digging it. I'm really in now. I'm in. Given my hesitation on episode 1. I'm in because I think we're getting a great, what for me is a great mix of non-narrative with narrative, or certainly confusing narrative with more traditional, and the mix is really working for it. Anyway, she kind of does this. It's, as you say, it says the number 15. and then we're hearing a weird banging, which is very disconcerting. The sound design on the whole series has been excellent, as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, David Lynch's credit with that, and you can tell it's David Lynch. It's so Lynchian. I'm using his own name as, it's just, anyway, she leads him down a corridor and up like this ladder, right?
Yep.
And once they've left the main room and they're in the corridor, the juddering stops, and they go up the ladder, and they're basically on the outside of a little metal box floating in space with like a big prominent metal piece sticking out of it, almost like a chimney, but it hasn't got a top, hasn't got an open top like a chimney, right? So they're in this metal box in space. So you're getting the idea. We're in nowhere, right? Obviously, there's an atmosphere you can breathe, but we're in space, right? There's a lever on this prominent sort of structure, and she pulls the lever. She kind of gets shocked by pulling the lever, and then she gets kind of thrown back into space. And Cooper kind of sees her falling off into infinity, right? And the banging stopped. Right, so you already mentioned like a raised head and a lever. That was kind of reminiscent of that bit, right? Throwing a lever suggesting some sort of change, perhaps?
Yes, or an opening of something.
Yeah, it was hard to know. I've got a few ideas and I'll come to them, but the lever's thrown. The banging stops. Cooper's looking down, see the woman falling, but then suddenly, as he's looking down, a giant image of Garland Briggs's face floats past slowly, and he says "Blue Rose," which is interesting.
It is.
So Blue Rose means something to him as well, right?
Yes, and that for me tied into the opening shot of Laura's face.
Right, okay, yes. It was kind of that level of light transparent. Oh, sorry, it was very transparent, wasn't it? You could see the stars behind him. So he says Blue Rose. Now, it could be something from Cooper's own mind presenting that, or, we don't know, right? Anyway, Cooper climbs back down the ladder and goes back. The juddering stopped. The radio console thing now says 3. So it's to my mind, I was wondering whether the pulling of the lever changed the room. Changed it for a different room or a different exit point or something. Because I don't know, did the room look different to you?
I couldn't say that the room was any different.
No.
But
it was. There was a fire, and I couldn't remember if there was a fire there when the woman with no eyes was in the room. I wasn't sure.
I thought she was when he first came in and she had her back to him.
Okay.
She was sitting in front of it, but the thing that struck me as well, and again, I might be reading way too much into this, but the fact that the number 3 is the kind of door that he ends up going through.
Yeah.
That was one of the numbers referenced by, who should we call him, the tall man?
Yeah. Actually, I meant to say something about that. Mike from Chinchorro vs. Punter put me right. That was actually the giant from the original series. I thought it was a different person, but no, that was him. He just looked a little different. And obviously he's a lot older, so that was actually him. How about that?
He's aged well.
Yeah, but he isn't credited as a giant. But I can't remember if he was credited as a giant in the original series, so that might be correct, right? Anyway, the radio console thing says 3, and there's another woman there with eyes, with a red dress, who is played by the actress who was Ronette Pulaski. So this could be Ronette Pulaski. We do not know, right?
Yeah.
She's sitting in front of the fire, but she holds up her hand and shows a watch, and the watch says 2:52, and then it flips to 2:53, which are the words of the giant. It actually says 253, doesn't it, or something like that. So 253 means something, and then a lamp comes on The lamp comes on by the the radio portal thing, right?
Yep.
The woman in the red dress is looking kind of agitated, like she's really worried about something. And then we cut to Cage Cooper just driving across America, like a desert, kind of rocky desert landscape, right, on a road. And he kind of starts acting like he's been overcome by something. He's like dizzy, but he's driving. Then Cooper starts to walk towards the radio thing. And does it shock him here?
He kind of. There's a bit of a reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll call her Ronette Pulaski, but I don't know if that's her. She actually says in the back way, when you get there, you will already be there. Right. And then again, we see driving Cage Cooper, sort of getting all woozy, getting more woozy, and then we go back to the room again. Oh, I have to stress, all this took about 15 minutes or so, so this was quite extended, wasn't it? It was quite drawn out. Very electric, though. Wasn't like, what's going on here? It's like, wow, look at that. And then we cut back to the room, that we hear the banging again.
Well, this has been going on for quite a while, the banging, hasn't it?
Oh, okay, but I thought it stopped and only started again when Cooper came back into the room. When he was in the corridor, I couldn't hear it, but that might not be important. I don't know.
I think it kind of zones in and out, but it was definitely kind of there and quite intrusive, I found.
Yeah.
I thought it seemed to be getting louder all the way through this scene.
The suggestion is something trying to get in there as well, but who knows?
And it's really interesting that Ronette actually says to Cooper, my mother. She refers to whatever's trying to get in as her mother.
She says, my mother's coming. You better hurry, my mother's coming. Yeah, it's really weird. Cooper goes over to the radio and we kind of get this goofy effect where his head starts stretching. But look, Lynch has got all the money in the world and he wants that. That's not just because it's a cheap effect. He wants a sort of weird effect. Cooper's head starts kind of stretching out and then he kind of floats into the radio, and this is a great effect. It goes bodily, head first, horizontally he floats into the radio sort of system, right? Like almost like it's a portal in a cloud kind of look, as his body goes into it. But the final thing is when he gets to his feet, his shoes fall off. So Lynch. Right, okay, so the Cooper we know and love has disappeared into a radio thing. We then see Dark Cooper again driving along the road, and he's getting even more overcome, kind of gets dizzy, can't see the road. He crashes the car in quite a spectacular way. I noticed that as he's driving, we're getting like a very, very rapid shaky shot of his radio, both his radio and his cigarette lighter, which hasn't got the actual thing stuck in it. It's open.
And only Lynch could. Well, yeah, that's it. Only Lynch could make that, like the lighter itself, seem like an endless hole that is a gateway to somewhere else. Yeah. It was genius.
That's the feeling. We also see on the dash the time is 2:53. So it's like this was the preordained time for some sort of swappage, I think. That's what it would appear. And we even see through the windscreen, like the red curtains kind of fade in and out. Right?
Yep.
And then it cuts to a completely different scene, which was amazing. We get another version of Cooper. Called Dougie. With lots of different hair, but lots of hair, right? How about that?
Told you I'd get teaching how to Dougie on the podcast.
Dougie Cooper, nice. I saw this, and after third time of watching this, I thought, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool if we get, because Dougie's a character from. The name Dougie is used for another character, Dougie Milford, who was the one who married the sex witch Lana. Yeah. Right? And this guy's paying a prostitute, so he's kind of sexually orientated, shall we say? And I was thinking, I was thinking that can't be Dougie Milford, right? Because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but he was called Dougie. And then I started thinking, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool if, like, every other episode we got a different version of Cooper who's based on someone from series 2? And I was thinking, please let there be a Dick Tremaine Cooper. Please. How awesome would that be? That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Anyway, this guy's called Dougie is with a younger black lady who he's paying money to. She's naked, so I think it's a reasonable assumption she's a prostitute, and she's acting like she knows him from before, like he's a regular or something, right? It's interesting. They're in a place called Rancho Rosa, which is the name of the production company. It's the logo we see at the very beginning of each episode, and the actual place is the Rancho. They're on like a development called Rancho Rosa. We see it a bit later on. Kind of made me laugh, double R. Stuff like that. And Rancho Rosa literally means pink ranch. So again, we're getting a colour thing, like the pink room, and we get Rancho Rosa. Eventually, we also find out this woman is named Jade. Amazing. Did you pick up that?
Yes.
Jade from Invitation to Love, Jade.
Yeah.
So, I want to see this woman turn up later as Emerald. I think I'm too much into Twin Peaks. That's what it is. Anyway, Dougie then talks about his arm went numb, right?
Yeah.
Now we get this in the past, haven't we? With something bad's going to happen sometimes.
Or when I think there's a big shift in terms of the kind of portals opening, because last time that happened, Bob came through. We saw Bob coming through. I said before, it seems to be when there's kind of heightened sense of energy or whatever, emotion. Yeah. Whereas Bob came through in the woods through the gateway, like the kind of pool of water, and there was nobody around. So it's as if
something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening to make everybody affected in that way to allow him to come through, if that makes any sense.
It does.
So it's as if with the gateways and real Coop, what we're going to call him,
Cooper.
Original Coop.
Let's call him Cooper. That'll do.
Well, if he's coming through again, passing through dimensions, doorways, whatever, it's interesting that the arm thing comes into play again.
Yeah, just to remind everyone that in season 2, we saw Cooper get a numb arm, a random lady in the Double R Diner's arm go numb, and I think Pete's arm went numb.
Yeah.
At this point you're talking about, so several people had their arm go numb. Anyway, Doug is talking about his arm going numb. He's wearing a ring, right, with a green stone with the owl petroglyph, alcove petroglyph. He's wearing that ring. Interesting, right?
Yes, because we last saw that ring on the nurse that took it from Annie.
This is in the missing pieces of the Fire Walk with Me. The stuff that was cut from the Fire Walk with Me film. It was on the hand of the nurse that took it off of Annie, like you say. But before that, if it wasn't the missing pieces, the ring. The last time the ring had anything to do with anything, Chet Desmond, Chris Isaac's character, was looking for it under like a caravan just before he disappeared. And before that, It was on Teresa Banks's hand, right? This ring that's trouble with this ring, right? So he's wearing his thing. She says, I'm going to go clean up. She's in the shower. And he puts on this bright mustard's jacket. What a jacket, right? Whoa. It looked like Pee Wee Herman kind of jacket.
He does. He looks like such a sleaze. I mean, that hairdo.
Yeah. The thing is, McLaughlin, this is the third character McLaughlin's playing, and you don't get distinct. I never got the distinct thing that's Kyle MacLachlan, right? That's Dougie, right? That one there's Cooper, that one there's Cage Cooper. He does it really well with very little.
Yeah,
I mean, really the hair and the dress help, right? The dress, well, his dress help, but I mean, he's really hitting it out of the park with this, I think. Dougie kind of has some sort of seizure and starts crawling around, right? Like something's wrong. And then he gets into, I think, the front room. The thing is, there's no furniture in this place, is there, really?
No.
It's in a house. And he kind of vomits up something, which I've seen referenced on the internet as a steak. But I don't know what it is. It's something. It's a big lump of something.
Flesh, it looks like. It's awful.
And it collapses on the floor. And he's kind of lying there. And then we cut back to Cage Cooper in his car, just holding his hand over his mouth. He's obviously trying not to vomit everywhere, right? And then we go back to Dougie, he's just crawling around. And then the red curtains appear by him. at his feet, in fact, right? He's just kind of lying there. And he just disappears in what sounds like a loud crack of thunder. And then even Jade in the shower hears it and says, "What the fuck's that?" He starts calling Dougie. And then, funny enough, we see Cage Cooper then sees through his windscreen the red curtains again, very transparent. You know, they're only just in reality kind of thing. He sees Dougie sitting in a chair, right, in front of the curtains. And then he starts vomiting Garmin Bozier, the cream corn, right? Garmin Bozier comes leaking out of the sides of his mouth. It's well disgusting. Puts you off cream corn, this one, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then Dougie finds himself in his lovely yellow jacket. Interestingly, Dougie's not wearing any shoes. I don't know if you noticed that. He's not wearing any shoes. And he's in the red room, and he this is in Dougie character, right? He goes, "I feel funny," and the one-armed man's Mike's there, and he says, you know, in his backward voice, "Someone manufactured you for a purpose, but I think now that's been fulfilled." And Dougie's looking at himself, and he kind of starts to shrink. He kind of seems to shrink from the arm with the ring, right? And he's looking down at his hand, and his hand's shrinking. He goes, "Oh, that's weird."
Which did make me think as well, because you saw his hand and his arm go first, it kind of brought me back to Mike.
Yeah.
And how he said that when he saw God, he had to take off his arm because it had the tattoo on.
Yeah. And is this ring something to it? Anyway, he starts to shrink. His hand gets so small, the ring falls off. And then his head kind of starts to elongate and just turns into like a black puff. And doesn't it also turn into a weird lump, like almost like moonstone? Or is that his? I can't remember. It's really difficult. This. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I can't like smoky, and then it just explodes.
Yeah, and like we see a silver ball, a gold actually ball bearing kind of, or brass, rise out of the blackness that his body was, and then the body disappears. Well, it kind of turns into this grey thing. Mike shields his eyes, interestingly, and then this gold ball bearing thing just falls down and lands on the chair. Mike picks up the ball bearing and the ring, and then he places the ring on the weird centerpiece we sometimes see in the room, which is like a gold, almost like a Romanesque kind of gold vase kind of shape, but it's a table. Do you know what I mean? He puts the ring on top of it. It looks almost like an elaborate bird bath to me. That's kind of how it looks.
And that's where we've seen it before in the extended scenes from Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, the ring's on it, and Cooper and Mike are talking. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how I remember it. Right, okay, so we've kind of seen that before. So Dougie appears to have been turned into a ball bearing. Okay, as far as we know. And then there's also an electric socket in the room that Dougie disappeared from, and we see the real Cooper come out of it head first, float out of it, right? So he's got like a black cloud effect around him as he floats out of this thing. What do you think of that effect? Any thoughts on that?
The same really as the previous.
Yeah.
Bits and bobs,
Yeah,
I thought it was good. Yeah, it held up. It wasn't obviously amazing CGI, but I don't think that was, like you say, what Lynch was wanting to go for.
Yeah. He's lying on the floor kind of face down, and she comes in and says, "Well, Dougie, what's up? Where'd you get the suit? Where'd you get the haircut?" She's like this, because his hair's quite different, right? He's got a proper old-fashioned... I mean, his haircut's more old-fashioned than his original haircut in the series, isn't it? It's properly short back and sides kind of haircut, right? Like a 50s haircut almost. Then she takes him out, and he says, "Where's your shoes?" And he's just kind of looking at his feet, and she's going, "Ugh." And then she goes in to get his shoes. He goes back in, she comes out, he's not there. He comes out again, and she goes, "Dougie, will you quit fucking around? Put your shoes on." And he just looks at her, so it's like, she gets her shoes on. And then, he's obviously disorientated, and she's a bit worried about him. She starts to act like, there's something up with him, and it appears something's up with him, right? She looks in his pocket, and she finds the key to the Great Northern. Right, 315, room 315 in Great Northern. I thought, wow. And then she says, I guess Jade's got to give you 2 rides, or something like that. And she starts to drive him somewhere. They leave his car, which is like this white car, and it's got the number plate Dougie LV. Dougie Love or something. I thought Las Vegas is what Dougie Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then some men appear who kind of look like they're after him. And then it's a case of, is it Dougie they're after? Is it Dark Cooper they're after? What's going on there? I don't know. One pulls up at the house as they drive off. And he sees Dougie's car, but he does radio someone else and says, just saw her leave. She might have been with someone else. I'm not sure. But his car's still here. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, because he drops the key, doesn't he? So he bends down and they think that she's in the car on her own.
That's right. There's a sniper waiting, right?
Yeah.
And as she drives, not out of it, but across like a road in the housing development, the sniper's like beading her, but because Dougie's gone over a bump and it's made him drop the key and then he's bent down, he's not visible, so the sniper thinks it's only her in the car. I didn't notice as they were driving out, there was a Sycamore Street sign and Dougie was kind of looking at it. Dougie. Cooper was kind of looking at it. Like Sycamore, clustering. So this kind of stuff. The guy who pulled up and was by the car gets out of his car and he sticks something under it. And I don't know if I'm being a bit sad here, but I was just hoping that guy's name is Montana at some point. One of the other characters from Invitation. Because we've got a Jade, right? So I was hoping against hope. I'm being really sad on this one. So he's planted some sort of device at the bottom of the car. Could be a bomb, could be a tracking device. It's like a little round thing with a light, right? But bizarrely, there's a kid looking for a window across the road, looking at him, and he's got like this woman who could be his mother, who looks like a junkie, doesn't she? She does look like a junkie. Yeah. In fact, isn't she taking something? And she shouts 119, 119, and she takes this pill. That doesn't relate to anything, does it? That scene?
No, but with all these numbers being thrown around.
119. I couldn't think what that meant.
Exactly. I'm just thinking it's all going to make sense at some point in terms of the numbers.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of is, there is another instance of a kid and a woman being in a house in Twin Peaks, and that's Mrs. Tremont, right? But this wasn't that kind of vibe, was it? They
didn't seem otherworldly in that respect. She just seemed out of it. Like, she washes down whatever pill she's taking with a bottle of, is it scotch?
Yeah. I would be surprised if we never see these people again. A bottle of JD, I think. Then we get a shot of the police highway police pulling out to Dark Cooper's car, which is all crashed. So one goes in and has a look and then kind of gets overcome and passes out or something, or gets violently ill because I presume the car stinks badly from whatever the hell Dark Cooper threw up. And the other one radios for an ambulance and says, you better bring gas masks. Right.
So I think, is it radioactive?
Yeah, it's like, well, again, this reminded me, I mentioned Repo Man last time. It kind of reminded me of that. There's this weird thing in the car. But anyway, we'll get to that at some point. Meanwhile, we're back at Twin Peaks, right? The Sheriff's Department. And we have Hulk, Andy and Lucy looking through Cooper's stuff. Kind of a comedy scene, this, right?
Yes, and it definitely channeled the kind of original characters and the tone of the original series.
Yeah, what makes me laugh most about this is Andy's hair. It's just amazing. It does make me laugh. There's even talk about chocolate bunnies, because I remember, doesn't Cooper, right, I think it's first episode, he's sort of, Diane, in my hand I have a chocolate bunny, or something, or a box of chocolate bunnies. I remember something like that, but I can't remember the details. And what happens is, Hulk was saying, we got to find something missing. And Andy says, we can't find anything missing because it's all here. It's kind of like, I don't know, Andy and Lucy seem really odd in this series. I mean, more so than ever before. I mean, obviously deliberately. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it doesn't quite feel like the characters we know and love, and that's a shame.
It's like Andy and Lucy are just not connecting with the real world anymore, just with each other, almost. They're on the wavelength with each other. It's quite odd. I kind of like it. I don't mind it. No, actually, I like it. It's better than that. I like it. But it isn't them, really, is it?
No, and what's interesting is when we see Gordon Cole
Yeah.
and Albert, because we see them in this episode first of all, don't we, briefly?
Yeah.
They don't appear, they do appear like themselves.
Yeah, they do.
And it's as though Twin Peaks and anybody kind of who stayed there
Yeah.
is kind of, like I said before about the original series, it felt like it was in its, set in its own kind of place and time, and it was very nostalgic and fuzzy and otherworldly and all that. It's as if being there and not kind of stepping away from that has made them that way. And it's really jarring then to get into kind of the real world, if you want to call it that, when we're in Las Vegas and New York and such within the previous episodes, how stark and, like I said, and cold, and it's digital, quite sharp, obviously, in terms of the camera work and such. So it really is at odds, and I think maybe that makes it even more jarring.
Yeah, I think Hawk's still acting the same though, right? Yeah, but we haven't seen that many, and we did see Shelley, but something about Andy knows. Anyway, Lucy then kind of freaks out because she remembers she ate one of the chocolate bunnies that were evidence because she had gas, and chocolate helps gas, and she loves chocolates, is as she puts it. And Hawk's going, it's not about the bunny, because, they're kind of trying to say it's about the bunny, and then Hawk looks down and goes, is it about the bunny? And then we get a shot of Jacoby. We're back to Jacoby, about like a 5-minute shot of him spraying shovels on a special rig, gold. Right? Now, I've tried to make sense of this, which I shouldn't bother doing, right? But all I can think of is Jacoby's an artist now when he does installation art. That's all I can think of as an explanation for this. But maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't, right? He's spraying shovels gold. It's quite a long sequence. I couldn't stop watching it. It really was engaging, but it was him spraying shovels, right? Anyway, Jade is dropping off Al Cooper off at a casino. Now, I think she says, I think you've had a stroke, Dougie. And she gives him $5 and says, you got to call for help. And then she says, quite interesting seeing this, she says, you can get out now. And then you can go out now, she says. And he then has a mental flashback of Laura Palmer saying to him in the Red Room, you can go out now. Which is interesting, right? Same words.
Yeah.
And it's almost like certain words trigger him back in, memories.
And this was when I was kind of thinking, like, why do you think there are 3 Coopers?
Well, they've said to Dougie he was manufactured, so if I had to guess, Dark Cooper somehow manufactured a copy so that he gets taken back to the Red Room instead of Dark Cooper, but I really don't know. That's the best I could do. Any ideas?
I mean, well, obviously, like, it seems that one version of Cooper has to be in the Black Lodge. I mean, and the kind of the tree mentioned that, didn't it?
Yeah, that does become apparent. Yeah.
But like, who kind of manufactured him? Like you say, it makes sense that it's Cage Cooper and when, and because we get a bit more of the backstory to kind of Dougie's life. So it seems like he's been outside for a while. Yeah,
we'll come to that when we come to. Should we talk about that when we find out a bit more about Dougie? That's probably best, right? Anyway, goes in the casino, Al Cooper. And he just repeats what Jade said to him. Now, this Cooper, all he can seem to do is repeat what people say to him, right? That's all he can seem to do. And he says, all he's saying is what Jade said, call for help with his $5. And he goes up towards this woman who's in a change booth, because it's a casino. Now, in this episode, it wasn't clear to me where exactly that casino was. I kind of guessed it was Vegas because it was LV on the number plate, but it wasn't that obvious. But we do see it's Vegas in episode 4, don't we? So he's in Vegas, and this woman gives him the change and kind of a cup for his winnings or his dimes or something, so he can go and use the slot machines, right? That one was Meg Foster. Did you recognise her?
I kind of felt that she was familiar, but I wouldn't have said who it was.
Meg Foster. She was in They Live. John Carpenter. She's been in quite a few things. She was in They Live. She was one of the evil queens in Masters of the Universe. That's what I remember. She's got very striking blue eyes. Anyway, it was a real bit part. She just, she's not in it, I don't think, other than that. She points him towards the machine. Now, he's looking at the machines, and he sees this guy get a jackpot and go, hello! And then he's looking around, and we see this weird little floating icon, which kind of looked like a steaming coffee cup to me. But if you look at it, it's like red curtains at the top, and the zigzag floor at the bottom. But honestly, it looked like a steaming cup of coffee to me. Somewhat. An odd one, obviously, with red steam. It was floating over one of the machines. So he goes over, he watches other people doing stuff. He puts one of his coins in, pulls the thing and says, hello, wins the jackpot. And then just starts winning jackpots everywhere, right? I think he wins 3, and then we cut away from that, maybe. And then we got to FBI headquarters. So we're in Washington here, I believe. That's what the title said. Though sometimes they're in the Philadelphia office, aren't they? Because, Cole often works out of the Philadelphia office, doesn't they? Anyway, they're in Washington, D.C. We got Agent Tamara Preston, who's telling Gordon Cole and Albert about the Glassbox murders in New York. The ones we saw where the heads got, cut to pieces and removed. Now, Tamara Preston's an interesting character because she's one of the main characters in The Secret History of Twin Peaks, the book, right? So we'll probably have more to say about her maybe when we talk about The Secret History. But it's interesting to see her in this. She's, talking about this, and Cole's like, what the hell, when he sees the picture. She talks about this box. She says sometimes the box shows a blurred shape. Did she say sometimes a humanoid shape? I can't remember. But it's only for a few seconds. It's only on certain cameras. And I can't remember if she says at this point, we think it belongs to a billionaire, but we couldn't find any security guards or any people involved. Did she say something like that? I'm a bit rusty on this bit. Yeah,
she did.
There's also a scene where these other guys are in there and they're talking about another case, I think of blackmail or something, or potential murder. And he goes, here are the clues. And it's like pictures of women in bikinis. And is it a bag of peanut? I can't remember. It was all sorts of weird things. And it's like, oh, it's the Senator's Conundrum, Cole says. And it's like, what does that mean? I don't know. And Albert's like, and then they get a phone call. I'm going to not pursue that because I can't remember it. Then they get a phone call saying, Agent Cooper's been found in South Dakota. And Cole's like, right, I want us and you, Tammy, to fly out for a 9:00 meeting. You know what? The first time I watched this, I thought they were talking about the Cooper in the casino.
Yeah.
And then I realised the second watch, they're talking about the one that crashed, right? But it took the penny to drop. But I was kind of excited to see Tamara Preston because I know her from The Secret History. It wouldn't mean anything to anyone who hasn't read that, but I was kind of cool. I thought that was cool to have her in. And then the film ends with Back at the Bang Bang Bar and a band playing. Kind of a cool kind of Everly Brothers kind of song. So, what do you think of this one?
A lot going on in this one. Much in terms of the two first episodes, it kind of flows a bit more cohesively.
Yeah.
The narrative, and we get a lot of information. Still more questions, but it seems to, like I say, it's not as kind of convoluted.
Yeah.
We're getting somewhere, kind of thing.
Yeah. I have to say, I really enjoyed this one. This has been my favourite so far, and I've really enjoyed all of it. I was hoping we'd get back to like Matthew Lillard and all that stuff, Bill Hastings, but I'm fine with this. You know what? When they first announced it was going to go from 9 to 18, I was like, rather it was 9, and we got something to sort of grip onto. But man, I'm happy it's stretched out to 18 now, and I'm feeling like, I'm happy to take my time with this. How about you?
Yes, and I'm going to have to watch these again because I'm sure I've missed so much. And I really like the introduction of Tammy as a character, because obviously I've listened to the book. I should say I've read the book, but listened to the audio.
Yeah.
Book of Secret History recently. But she really reminds me of Denise.
Yeah.
In the way she's so kind of self-assured.
She's very
so I'm interested to see more of her and the way she kind of interacts with Cole.
Me too. I really enjoyed this. Well, let's get to rating. So if I remember rightly, the first two you rated 9 and 9, and I rated them 7 and 7. I wanted to give myself a bit of room to go up, depending on how I feel about it, I think. Though, you know what? I think by the end of it, my ratings are going to be completely different once I've watched all 18. And I've got a sense of where I'm at with every episode. Anyway, what would you rate this one?
9.
A 9 again. I rate this one an 8. I think I like this one. Of the three, I like this one best. I really enjoyed that. Specifically the beginning section. I really enjoyed. But the whole Dougie thing was amazing. I thought it was just amazing. So that's where I put this. So anything to say? Otherwise, we'll wind up.
Just to say, it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people say that they thought after the first 2 episodes, it kind of went downhill for the next 2. We've also watched all 4. Yeah,
I think the first 2 do actually work quite well as a long story. I can kind of see why they released that. So I think that perhaps people came in, were just relieved that it wasn't shit. Right, and now they've settled into it. It's like this third one. It's not, once you get kind of used to something, it's like, I'm never aware. I've watched all of them at least twice. All of these 3 at least twice, and in fact, this one I've watched 3 times because I really liked it. They bear rewatching. They do bear rewatching. Not just because there's things you missed. They're just really good. They're just really good. And now that sounds bad. I'm only giving it an 8. I'm going on about how great it is, right? It's weird, but yeah, okay. That's me, right? Really enjoying this. So let's wind out there. We will. You know what? We're going to have Mike on. I think about episode 6 or 7, that kind of show. So I think that'll be a good time for us to do a kind of full recap on some of these earlier ones and talk about like how the whole series is going as a whole. And it'd be nice to get Mike's perspective, right? As well, and that's not the one I'm man. That's Mike Chinstroger. That'd be kind of cool, right? So because I think it's not like we're going to say, we've done 3, that's it. We're never going to talk about it. I'm sure we'll be going back and talking about Dougie and Dark Cooper stuff. You know what I mean? I can just see it. Anyway, let's wind up here. So, bye from me.
Bye from me.
And until next time on the Twin Peaks log.
Somewhere on the shore waiting for me, with her wet hair and sandy gown, singing songs, waves of dive I know on River Street. Go on in and take my seat. There's a lot of friends I'll never meet. Gonna take a dive off River Street. You look different from way down here, like a circus mirror. I see flashes of you on the surface.